I felt it would be weird to crack open a beer during a cider episode. Yeah, I don't want a cider though.
Hi everybody and welcome back to the Crafty Crew podcast. My name is Kinger. I'm joined by Mark.
Hello.
By Nally.
Well.
And by Walshy.
Good evening.
Lads, will I explain what's happened? So this is going to be episode 8. We've lost our original 8 and 9 episodes, and we're bouncing back with this. So yeah.
I mean, I feel like anyone who actually listens to it deserves an explanation of why the usual 40-minute show was 10 minutes completely all of a sudden.
Yeah, so for anyone who was maybe wondering why you didn't get a full episode last week, we apologise. You know, we know that we're a big part of your lives and that you missed us a huge amount over the weekend. But we had a numerous amount of technical difficulties, left, right and centre. And it's nobody's fault. It's just one of those things. We're new and we're still getting used to this. But just to point out, me and Nally had no technical fault. So just to throw that out.
It's more annoying that like one technical fault was one episode was my fault and one episode was Walshy's fault. So it was kind of a double whammy, which is a bit of a kick in the teeth. And Nally, I have to give you high fives there and kudos on your use of the word fuck-uppery. I think it's a great word.
I thought you'd appreciate it. All right.
The one thing I'd like to throw out is we initially had your brown ales and we were meant to do our wheat beers, and a silver lining, we get to do the two of them again.
We do, which is always that's always a good point, to be fair. Yeah,
more drinking. So you know.
Exactly, yeah. So this week it's ciders. I think everyone will be very familiar with the likes of a Bulmers or an Orchard Thieves, or they might go as fruity as a Copperberg sometimes as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Throw in that Alska there has kind of gotten quite popular lately as well.
I mean, I mentioned Alska a couple of weeks ago and I got slated for it. So, Nally, away you go with some facts.
Yeah, so cider is a thing, and that's it. That's about it. That's all we care about. But no, so cider it's made very, very similar to beer. Basically, you've got the same basic idea. And the main difference is in cider, you're using apples. Well, you know, apple cider. Obviously, there's other different types of cider, different fruit ciders. But apple cider, let's stick with that because it's the one people most know. So apple cider, basically, you get a heap of apples. You pulp them down or you mash them up. You break them up somehow. You put them into a big vat. And then you throw in some water. And then you throw in some yeast. And that's kind of it. So the yeast they use for it is the same as they use for beer. It's the Saccharomyces cerevisiae. But there is another type of yeast as well, Saccharomyces bianus, I think the name of it is. And basically that yeast can be used, it's a higher, it kind of tends to do better at higher alcohols. So sometimes it's used in winemaking as well. So some ciders hit that higher ABV range. And you can throw in that yeast instead. It ferments the same and you get, you know, alcohol production. So that's the main thing. The other thing with ciders as well is for anyone who's, you know, that bit health conscious, they're great for you. Not. They're filled with sugar. So on average, cider will have about 5 times more sugar in it than beer. Like, because it's made from apples. So the natural fructose and the natural sugars that are in all the apples and stuff, there's a lot more of that than in, you know, the grain that's used to make beer. So if you take an apple, bite into it, and how sweet that is, versus, I don't know, take a Weetabix and bite into it and see how sweet that is. You're going to taste the difference in the natural sugar levels. It's going to be quite stark. So that's kind of, you know, they lead into that. Apart from that, you know, ciders, they tend to be aged quite a bit. So like we were saying there a while ago, hopefully it wasn't on one of the episodes that were cut, but God knows, it could have been. We were saying how like New England IPAs and things like that, or general IPAs, they tend to do better when they're fresh and not when they're aged, because the hop smells and the hop flavor and everything kind of dissipates quite quick. So if you can get them into you quicker, it's better. Whereas with ciders, what happens is they tend to pick the more tannic apples, so like the more tart and things like that. If you bit into it, you'd be like, well, this apple has gone off or something. You mightn't like it. It's all the tannins and stuff that are in it, and they give it that kind of tart, bitter flavor. So they need time to mellow out. Ciders tend to be aged for about 3 months, anywhere up to 3 years, before they're bottled and sold off.
Yeah, Danny, just to go back there to one thing you said about the Weetabix. So, could you pulp up Weetabix like you'd pulp up apples and use it to brew a beer?
I doubt it. Maybe. I doubt it though. I'd say most of the natural sugars of them are probably, cooked out of them in the process of making the Weetabix themselves. But
okay, so
maybe.
The sugar's gone. What about something like a crunchy nut cornflakes? A lot of sugar in those.
There's a lot of sugar in it. That's a shout. I mean, I can't think of many things that use. I suppose in Budweiser's high corn syrup or corn malt. You could. I mean, basically all you need is sugar in there, and then the yeast will ferment that, and then some hops for flavour. So I guess you could. We could try it.
I'd just like to trademark that to any potential breweries listening. That's my idea, and if you come out with a cereal-based brew, I'm going to sue you.
I feel like Kellogg's
very
might have
litigious.
something to say.
I am very litigious. I'm not afraid of Kellogg's. I've taken on Diageo in this podcast. I've taken on Budweiser in this podcast. I'm not afraid of any of these guys.
As we said before, go big or go home, right?
That's it. No risk it, no biscuit.
A Weetabiscuit. Oh, I'll see myself out. I'll see myself out.
So, Walshy, you have a nice historical fact about ciders for us this week.
Oh, I do. And as a bit of a doctor myself now, I'm inclined to. I found this out. I mean, at least let the joke sit before you start laughing. At least give me a second. All right?
Doctor of Bollocksology. Come out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to. Now my bollocksology doesn't sound believable, which is whatever. But right, back to my point. In the 19th century, cider was advertised as a cure for the gout and other illnesses, which, being Nally and Mark being the science guys, have proven that that's kind of potentially ridiculous.
Well, we haven't proven it because we haven't gotten gout
not-
and then tried to cure it with cider. But
You met it. It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, gout was like part of gout. A lot of kind of wealthy people would get it, because overeating and a kind of sedentary and luxurious lifestyle was one of the causes of it. So if you're just drinking something that's full of sugar, and back then there wouldn't be any refining process, so you could get toxins and stuff maybe in it. So all that shit's not good for you. So it wouldn't have helped, They didn't have flat 7-Up back then, so they really didn't have any modern medicine.
There you go.
Nothing like an old wives' tale. I believe it was also used to baptize babies instead of water as well, which is another weird and interesting fact about it. I wouldn't have minded being baptized in cider myself.
Well, maybe you were a kinger with your love of it, or maybe enough of it splashed on you in the pub and after your christening.
Yeah.
But in the 14th century, it was cleaner than water, and it was also really readily available. So, it's hard to say exactly when cider first showed up in history. Because apple trees have been around for so many thousands of years. Kind of the main recording of cider was when the Romans invaded Britain for the first time in 55 BCE. In 54 BCE, there was 2 invasions over 2 years. So you're talking Julius Caesar here. The troops kind of started drinking it because it was what the locals were drinking, and they learned the technique and brought it back to Rome. So it became kind of a working class thing then around the Italian region and stuff for a while. Nally, you want to jump in there with something?
No, I think that would make sense as well. Cider making and wine making are much more similar process than beer making. So, Italy and stuff would be famed for its wines as well as France. So I reckon the process and everything would have been relatively easy to transfer across. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And these guys, they brought back the cider to it's Italy and Greece, and it absolutely exploded in popularity. And from then on, we have kind of the traditional cider. Now, what's interesting is back then, right? These days, if you have, say, your Bulmers, okay, they're using the same exact type of apples for their ciders all the time, so they get that consistent taste. But back then, a lot of it would have been just what apples are around. You'd be growing an orchard from one apple tree, you take the seeds out of all its apples, plant loads of new trees. So when you're doing that just through genetics, the new trees you're planting are all a bit different. So what will happen is over generations, you'll get loads of these different flavours. So if you're mixing all these different flavors of apples together, it's really consistent to always have the same taste in cider. So for years and years, like, ciders would have been like wildly different. Even in the same orchard, kind of year on year, you could get different tastes a bit. So it's kind of, you know, only really recently that maybe kind of the Industrial Revolution just before it, that they started absolutely sticking to the same cider. But because of this genetic variation and the popularity of cider, there's 7,500 or more varieties of apples. Okay, so they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. If you want to do that with a bottle of cider, it's going to take you 20 years to try them all.
Jesus.
Challenge accepted.
Mark, I believe you chose the ciders for us this week, and one of them actually has a bit of a wine influence. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. So for anyone who may not know, we tend to like pick our categories and then get the person who is like the least or the smallest fan of that category to pick the beers in it, so that there's no favoritism or prior experience, you know. So we're going to try two today. We're going to try Sheppys original cloudy cider, which I think is an English cider, which should be pretty nice, I guess. You know, cloudy might be interesting, but like cloudy lemonade is kind of what I have in my head for it. And then Craigie's Irish craft cider. It's rosé cider. So it's crafted in Ireland, but the rosé thing is really appealing to me as somebody who likes their wines and not a huge fan of the ciders. That I think this could be a very interesting drink. I once had a Chardonnay barrel aged beer, and the taste of the Chardonnay really came through, and I really liked it. So I'm hoping this is something similar.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the same one I had, Mark. I think that was Otter Bank Brewery or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
It was
From
good.
Muff.
It was really nice. It was a strange experience, but yeah. Shout out to Otter Bank Brewery. I think that's the name. Someone can fact check me there, but definitely if anyone can get a go on that, worth a try, so it is, yeah.
Otterbank Brewery from Muff in County Donegal.
Yep, that's the one.
There's now actually, you're mentioning ones you've had before. I actually had one in, and I don't know if I've brought this up before, in a pub in town. It was a beer, but it was brewed in cider and fermented in a whiskey barrel, which sounds mad to me.
Sounds like a bad joke. It was brewed in cider.
Yeah.
Inside who?
I didn't even cop that. But
sorry, Dr. Paul Walsh didn't get that one, did he?
That's
yeah,
our bollocksology.
at this stage, boys, you should know what to expect from me, and that's not a lot. But it was actually nice. It was actually nice considering it was very strange. I didn't know what I was drinking half the time, but it wasn't bad at all.
Cool. So, Mark, do you want to give us our first one to try for this week, so?
Yeah, so I think because I'm looking forward to the rosé one so much, I'm going to delay a little bit and have it as the showstopper at the end. And we're going to try the Sheppys Cloudy Cider.
Cool. Well, sure. As we're cracking them open, it's probably worth noting it's the first time we've had 2 bottles on the podcast.
Yeah, it's a shout, yeah. First bottles on the podcast, I believe, actually. Because our wheat beer episode...
Oh, the last episodes are bottles, weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
The last episodes are bottles. That's true, yeah.
This is going to be like a thing. If this podcast goes for a while, it's going to be in the folklore of it, the lost episodes.
It'd be like the Star Wars Christmas special from the original trilogy.
Right, so Kinger, just as you mentioned it being the our first 2 bottles, I was actually curious about a thing, just as I was looking in the shops and online. Is it a thing, or is it easier to bottle ciders than can it? Because outside of Bulmers and Orchard Thieves, I don't see many, if any, craft cider cans. It's mostly bottles. Is there any reason behind that?
I can attempt it. I have my own idea on it now. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, because I'm just thinking of it now as you ask it. But I think there could be a couple of things. So it could be, historically ciders are bottled because they can age better in bottles. Like you don't age something in a can, and some ciders get aged for up to 3 years. So it might make more sense to bottle it and then age it that way. Considering it's similar to the wine process as well. You don't see wine in cans really at all either. So it's similar to that. The other thing as well is they're so highly carbonated because there's so much sugar in it. The can mightn't hold the expansion of the carbonation as well. That's something else as well that could be it. Yeah, I suppose the other thing as well is it's not generally they mightn't be as produced en masse as beers, because from year to year, you're going to get a different variety of apple. Or like Mark was saying, the apples can kind of change in it. So you can have blended apples and blended ciders to make one particular style. So year on year, they could change. So you don't want to keep a consistent can or whatever for it.
There's another thing as well, Nally, that might be a bit of an answer to it. Ciders tend to fall on the lower range of the ABV scale, and what some brewers do is they add, after the brew is finished and they're bottling it, they add extra sugar and extra yeast into the bottle to increase the alcohol content, and kind of bottle age it as well. During that bottle age process, maybe bump it up from, you might start with a 3 to bump it up to like a 5 or a 6. So I mean, maybe that's it as well, that bottles can handle an extra fermentation step better than cans. I guess we don't know, but we're good at bullshitting about 4 or 5 different reasons.
I feel like we've given food for thought out there, Mark, and that's the main thing that we try to do.
Let's mosey on. What do we think of this? The colour,
lads. Who pissed in my water? That's very cloudy.
It is very cloudy, yeah, isn't it? Like, at least it's living up to its name.
Like that's like someone just took some my waddy lemon and chucked it in. Like,
it doesn't really have. I guess this is, as somebody who doesn't drink much cider, I have the kind of Bulmers orangey Lucozade look in my head.
Yeah,
but it's very pale. Like it is like a pale dilute lemon drink, I guess.
It is, yeah. There's no head on ciders as well, is what I've noticed. They don't tend to ever really hold a head.
No.
Like, you might get the fizz at the start, but it's gone pretty quick, and they never really hold a head. I suppose that's probably the proteins in the grain that leads to the head being held in pints rather than with apples.
It's got a nice, pleasant, sweet, appley kind of aroma to it as well, I find. So it's.
I think it smells very similar to Bulmers.
Yeah, it's not too strong, but it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've hit that on the head there, Kicker. It does have that kind of Bulmery smell, where it's not too sweet. It's a little tart or something as well. It's
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I was ready to kind of cremate ciders, to be honest with you, but it's actually quite nice. It's a lot nicer than some of the ciders I have had, which isn't a lot. Your traditional Bulmers, Orchard Thieves. I've tried the odd Copperberg. Copperberg I just find far too sweet. But if it's a thing, I'm in someone's house and I run out of drink and all they have is a bottle of cider in the fridge, I'll drink it. You know, but yeah, I'm quite pleasantly surprised by that now, to be honest.
So, Walshy, when you're in someone else's house, you'll even drink things you don't like just to get them because they're free.
Yeah, pretty much. Or it's either, damn, I have no more drink left. You do, and all you have is cider, and I want to continue drinking. So
it's funny. I feel a little bit of pressure this week because I was the one that suggested the cider as a style to do, but I didn't pick the ciders. So I don't know why I'm feeling a little bit of pressure, but I'm hoping that I might. I'm not going to convert you, but I'm hoping that you might come out of this kind of with a bit of a better view on ciders than you have had in the past.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like. Nah, I can't even say it. Yeah, fuck them. I think just getting onto this, the flavour of this I think is very similar to kind of Bulmers after I've had a bit of it and kind of halfway through it now. It does kind of have that Bulmers-y kind of tinge to it. Like, I mean, if I didn't look at this, if you put down a pint of Bulmers and a pint of this and blind taste, I don't think I'm going to tell much. Maybe it's not as carbonated, but apart from that, they're very similar in flavour.
I guess it just speaks, they're both a straight up apple cider. They're not trying to do anything too different. And I know this says cloudy, but I imagine that's more a lack of a filtration step or a lower filtration step rather than a taste thing or an addition. So it still will have the same taste. Maybe it's just got an extra little bit like yeast or something that was left in there. Whatever.
Yeah, probably just the apple juice itself. Just giving it that cloudy thing. Like, you get cloudy apple juice. It's just unfiltered apple juice, so it's probably not even yeast. It's probably just the apple juice itself.
My new favourite word, or my word of the week, is, Nally, what do they call it when they crush all the apples together to make cider?
Oh, it's so stupid. What is it again, Nate?
Pomace.
Pomace, yeah. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, cider making, no more than beer making, has a lot of weird terms. However, I've become accustomed to some of the beer terms, so it makes sense. The cider ones are just a bit mental, so they are at times. Like, I feel like they've just made them up. I mean, I'm sure they have at some stage, but it feels like anytime I read it, I'm just reading it for the first time and it's completely just made up. Yeah, so, and the other word I was trying to think of there is scratting. So scratting is when you pick up the cider, or pick up the apples from the ground. You go gather the apples, you're going scratting.
It's not just gathering, it's scratting, essentially.
It's scratting, yeah. How does that make any sense to like, just stop it.
It sounds like you're doing something illegal.
Where are you off tonight? I'm going scratting.
Yeah, so obviously the taste is fairly similar to Bulmers. I do think, like you said, Natalie, I think it's the less carbonation. It's a much smoother feel, to be fair. I think it's nicer than Bulmers, but I think it's too similar a taste to Bulmers to make it kind of stand out, you know?
Yeah, I think you've hit it there. I think I'd agree with you fully there, Kinger. It's too similar to change. It's definitely too similar to change my opinion on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to blow me out of water. It's grand. I can see myself on it if it was a really hot day, and you know you're sitting out the back, a cold pint of that, grand, no bother at all. It'd be fine. You know what I mean? But again, it's very very similar to Bulmers to me.
Would that go back to them maybe using the same apple or a similar type of apple?
Possibly. Don't Bulmers have this whole thing where they say they use like 57 different varieties of apple in their mix or something mad like that? So okay. I don't know if it's necessarily that. It might just be that, you know, I think Bulmers is a dry cider as well or something. It could be just a style of cider. Just because cider has all different types of styles, same as beers. You know, there's just lots of different styles. So it could just be that it's a dry cider as opposed to, you know, a sweet cider or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Nally, that it doesn't stand out and make its own, like plant its flag in the ground anywhere and say, this is what I am, you know, choose me instead of. And because it's not going to like beat Bulmers into pubs and stuff, it's really going to be, you know, the kind of thing that, I've tried this and because I've tried it, I will go and get it again because I know it's nice. But like for me, ciders were the provision of you're going out, you're driving, but you can have one because maybe you're having dinner and you're going to be there a few hours and it's a nice warm summer's day and you want something refreshing, but you don't feel like a Coke or a 7-Up or whatever soft drink. You'll have one cider, like a pint bottle of Bulmers or something. And like ever since Walshy's introduced me to sours, like certainly I prefer a sour. Obviously you're not going to get them in every pub, but I think that they even fill the void a bit better than the cider. But this is just, it's grand, but it's not anything special, you know?
You don't seem too blown away by it.
It's fine. It's like a Bulmers. I agree with Nally that there's not enough difference here to let me comment like otherwise on it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I know what I'm going to rate it. Like it's just grand.
Shock horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I mean, it's been a minute since I had a Bulmers, but it does fairly remind me of it. I don't know really where I'd stand on it in general. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's still a cider, which is not something I'm the biggest fan of. I haven't drank cider since college, but it's all right.
That was Doctor College, wasn't it?
Absolutely, Doctor College in
Doctor College.
Doctor College.
Well, it's not medical school; it's Doctor College.
No,
you're doing
Doctor
your
College.
PhD in bollocksology. You know?
Yeah,
bollocksology. Yeah.
The terminology for it is Doctor College. Yeah, that's where the professionals go.
Yeah, most people get an MD, while she got a BD.
Yeah,
bollocksology doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
So, King, I'll swing us around to the ratings on this.
Cool.
It's got a nice crisp mouthfeel, you know, a pleasant aroma. It tastes nice. It's very sweet. But it doesn't do too much more than what Bulmers does, which is kind of the standard we know for our ciders. And, like, I'm hovering in between Beautiful and Just Beer. And I'm sure you'll tell all the lovely listeners how our system works, but I'm going to land straight out on Just Beer with this.
Yeah, so the time-tested and proven scientific rating system on the Crafty Crew podcast here.
As thought up by Walshy and his group of doctors of bollocksology.
Absolutely. In my medical field. Yeah.
No, hang on. Just to be clear, Walshy, you can't say medical, just in case somebody gets confused, okay? There's laws around claiming to be a real doctor.
That's true, yeah. So the rating system starts at unbearable, then it goes booze, beer, just beer, Beautiful, and then the much coveted, unbeerleavable.
Only one member.
Only one member so far, yeah, and I don't think that's going to change this episode so far. So Mark, so you're giving it a just beer,
Yeah.
kind of.
I lean towards the beautiful side, but I still think it's just beer.
Just for the sake of the refreshment, or
Yeah, like it tastes nice and it's refreshing, but it's still like my problem with ciders is they're like sickeningly sweet, and so they can be a lot of them can be over carbonated, you know, like, and they just I don't know, it's just not my wheelhouse. So I think it'll have to be a really good cider to blow me away.
Fair.
Yeah, I'll just jump in there, Mark, and I think just what you said there near the end kind of is what gets this up to a just beer for me. I'm not a big fan of it, really. It's grand. I'm gonna put it down as a just beer. However, I think the thing that saved it is, like you were saying there, a lot of ciders tend to be super carbonated, and I'm not the biggest fan of this. You know, just how sickly sweet when they're super carbonated as well. I find it hard to drink a few of them. You get very, very bloated. The sweetness doesn't help, but this is kind of saved on that because it's not as carbonated. I find it's not flat, but it's less. It's more restrained in the carbonation, which I think helps it in this case. So it does. So yeah, for me, I'm on just beer as well. It's grand. I'm not going to be rushing out to buy it again, but someone pops that out and it's a warm day outside. Fuck it, I'll drink it.
Yeah, I'm falling like brutal with this. I think for me it's better than a Bulmers, which I would see as like just beer. Like there's nothing wrong with it. So it's nicer than kind of that. It's nicer than that, and definitely the smoothness and the lack of fizz or carbonation really helps, because like, okay, it's taken us a bit longer to drink it, but I think that's coming from the sweetness, which is to be expected with a cider. So for me, it's a brutal, and I don't see any cider getting an unbearable rating, to be fair.
Walshy, this has been a very civil rating system so far. Can you drop some hate on us, some conflict,
some
please?
Knowledge. No, not really a lot of conflict. I'm conflicted on what side I want to go personally. Do I go on my rating system, or do I kind of lean on Mark's?
Come to the dark side.
Fuck off.
Come to the dark side.
No, hang on. He just said his rating system.
No,
does
I
Walshy
know.
have his own rating system he's using? Because I will kick you out of the podcast.
Okay.
There is one rating system.
Okay.
The one rating system is the Crafty Crew approved rating system, Walshy.
That's
what it is. The process.
If you would let me
Alcohol
finish,
goes
Mark.
in. No, I won't, because you're going to try and justify using a different rating system.
No,
alcohol
I'm
goes
not.
in.
As we all know,
Crafty Crew ratings come out. That's what the Crafty Crew podcast is all about.
Yeah, but I've always done that from day one. I've always
Well,
rated
then
it for
why
what
you
I
mention
think
it?
is.
Why did you say it was your system or our system? If that's what you've always done. Why are you calling it out in episode 8
the way
episode 10?
I've talked about it since day one. That
Your own system.
no, not my own system. That in most cases I'll rate beers. Like I'd have beers at a 4 that like in, I don't know, like a sour 4 to me wouldn't be the same as a sour 4 or as a lager 4. If any of that makes sense. But I've done that since the very beginning.
I mean, Mark, you asked for a bit more of a tumultuous rating.
He gave me the conflict I asked for.
He's
I can't
given it to
complain
you.
about that.
You asked him for it.
I did. Ask and you shall receive with Dr.
Sorry,
Bollocksology, Paul Wall.
Walty, sorry, continue. Give us.
Right, as I was trying to say before rudely interrupted, it's like, as a cider, it is nicer than ones I've had. But for me personally, as a drink, I don't personally, I'm not a big fan of it. So I'm probably leaning on the, I don't know, upper end of a booze. So you're kind of...
Ooh.
But that's just because... But that's more down to the fact that I just don't like ciders. They're just too sweet and I don't
That's
enjoy
fair.
them. But as if I'm thinking in the context of just a cider, it is one of the nicer ciders I've had in comparison to like a Copperberg or a Bulmers. But it doesn't mean I don't overly enjoy it.
Just to stick up for the cider, then I think you have to rate it just compared to other ciders. Like personally, that's what I think. But
so what we're saying is like you just kind of gave me stick for rating it the way I rate all my beers so far since day one, and now you're asking me to rate it the way that I've done since day one.
No, Walshy. Kinger's asking you to rate it the way that he wants, that he gets the result that he wants. This
This is the easy way to sort it. We have the tape. We have the technology. We can check. I know. I do think Walshy's called it out before. He's kind of always
I
said
have.
that.
I've
He
absolutely
rates them
said it.
compared to
Really?
other ones
Okay.
he's had.
Well, okay.
But
I've
I
missed
do
it,
think,
I have said
but I do think if you dare call this a goddamn beautiful beer, Walshy, I swear to
Definitely
Jesus.
not beautiful. It's definitely not beautiful.
So what's your official rating then for this? Are you saying booze?
Yeah,
I'm hurt.
but that's
I'm
more down to
hurt.
the fact that I don't enjoy it. But if
Yeah.
I was to say it as a cider, it's of just beer. So
Ah,
I'd go.
fair
I'd
enough.
go
There
on
you go.
booze then.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I feel like I'd be more hurt if I'd picked the ciders. But yeah, so that leaves us square on a beer then, does it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just beer for
Okay, so that gives Sheppys original cloudy cider a just beer rating on the Crafty Crew podcast.
Can we have it a just cider rating on this one? Because, like, I mean, let's not tarnish the name of beer.
no, because cider needs something to aspire to, Nally.
That's fair. Yeah, let's go with just beer. So
Okay, Mark, I'm going to save you the blushes of singing me into my Kinger question this week. So he wants it anyway. So we've actually got the luxury of 2 questions from 2 listeners this week, which I think is a nice little luxury for me not to be thinking of questions. It's probably better for you as well. You're not dealing with my stupid questions. So Niall Hughes has been in touch. I feel there's a link here somewhere.
Yes, there is.
He's wondering if you were planning a stag, where would be the best location to go for craft beer?
Lisbon.
I feel like you're invested in this answer as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so this is my brother who's in charge of planning my stag, and he has thrown this question in either to be a little bit of a snake or else to get a genuine answer. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'll let you guys throw your hat in the ring for this because I do have too much invested in it.
yeah, so I mean, I reckon if you're staying at home in Ireland, I'm assuming, Mark, that's, you live here, right?
I do live in Ireland, but
Excellent.
it won't be
So-
it won't be for at least 12 months. So hopefully
Yeah.
the option to go.
I'm
abroad
assuming
will be
if
there.
if we're staying in Ireland, then for craft beer, there's a lot of places at the minute. There's more and more breweries popping up. Maybe not at the minute, but recently there's been more and more breweries popping up. Dublin still has the most, probably, within walking distance of each other, or at least within a handy taxi distance of each other. So Dublin probably would be a good place to go. The Midlands, there's a good few popping up now as well. I know we've said it a bit on this. There's Dead Centre, which are class. There's Wide Street Brewery, which is based in Ballymatton, and then there's St Mel's Brewery, which is based in Longford, and then just out the road there's the Black Donkey as well. It's based in Roscommon. So there's four breweries kind of around each other. So it's not too bad a shout. But if you're going abroad, then, depending on what kind of beer you're into, you could hit Belgium. Belgium has a crap load of, breweries over there. So it might be good to get across there. And you could, I think there's, I saw it on Facebook the other day. I think it's the Delirium Tremens Cafe in Belgium has like the world's largest selection of beers. So that might be somewhere to go. Just like you could just go to one spot and try a rake of different beer.
Everything.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of that place. The menu is literally the entire 4 walls of it are painted in like beers, and all those beers are available. But you have to get lucky because I think they only have like 2 or 3 of each, and it's like if you pick one that somebody's drank the 3 of, you have to pick one of the other several thousand options, which is a bit shit, I suppose.
How terrible.
I know a gang of lads I used to work with went to I think they started in Newcastle, and again this would be like permitting travel outside of COVID times, etc. It started in Newcastle. I think the train you get in a train Newcastle to Manchester, but it stops at these like little tiny train stations that have these micro breweries, and you hop off the train, stay for 20 minutes, taste whatever they have, back on the train onto the next one. I think it's called the Ale Trail, which I think is a cool name. I wasn't able to go at the time. I can't remember why, but the lads loved it. They were absolutely fucking balubas as well by the end of the train journey. So, but it's it's a great way to maybe try a load of craft beers that you've probably never heard of or will never have a chance to try. So.
Walshy, what do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, as in a craft one, I honestly don't have an answer. I don't know. But one there you could try like a load of different beers. I mean, You can't really go wrong with the likes of an Oktoberfest. Vegas has bars over there. I can't remember what it was called. Nally, what was it? Like Beer 52 or something like that.
Beer
Mark's
52
like
or
in
something,
Vegas
yeah.
suggestion.
Something like that had like 50 something different taps. So I mean, and you can't really go wrong with there. I do like Kinger's thing there. That'd be something really cool to do. Kind of what you say was Ale Trail would be really cool.
I think it's called the Ale Trail, yeah. So there you go, Mark. I mean, if those were laid out in front of you, a train craft beer journey, Oktoberfest, Vegas, or did you say Belgium, Nally? Was it Belgium?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where would be your where would you land?
Well, I think Nally wants to throw something in before I answer, so go ahead.
I just want to point out to Niall that I think the key takeaway from this is not Lisbon.
Yeah, I would go there.
Not Lisbon.
Heard it was shit.
He does enjoy asking me what I'd like to do, and then just as I'm about to answer, he says, "Doesn't matter. You have no say in this."
He's a wise man.
Yeah, so if that's the case, like I'm going to assume, because he keeps saying that to me, that he's paying for me. So in that, I'll take Oktoberfest and Vegas, please. I'd like both in one. I think that's no. Honestly, I love the Oktoberfest idea. That would be really cool. But I think you just kind of get lost in the big crowd. The Ale Trail thing though sounds really cool. Like Newcastle, Manchester, you could catch a Premier League game.
Yeah.
You know, spend the weekend there. Like, it's not too hard to get to. It's, you know, easy flight, cheap flights, and probably cheap accommodation. And Nally is laughing and pissing himself.
I know what's coming. Like, go on.
Is that because, you know, when you're catching that Premier League game, that'd be in Manchester, because next season you definitely won't catch a Premier League one in Newcastle, is it?
Fulham are coming, boys. They're coming for you.
Han Mono.
That's 100% making the edit. Oh my
So you
God.
like that, Kinger?
What I'm loving about this, though, is like it's actually a fair point, because Premier League games are really hard to get tickets to, but Championship games, you know, they're 10 a penny.
Yeah. They're paying you to go watch it. Probably more chance to get in Premier League games in Sunderland over the next few years than there is in fucking Newcastle.
We the lads.
We the lads.
Mark, introduce us to our second beer of the week, please.
Yeah, so our second cider of the week, Kinger. Just to
Second
correct
cider
you
of the
there.
week. Apologies. Yeah, cider. Yeah.
You're not as professional as we thought you were, are you? Okay. Our second
I'll fix it in
cider-
the edit.
All hail the
hail
glorious
the
Elliot. It's funny, like the three of us, Walshy and Ali, we all wait like on, you know, tender hooks, waiting to see what Kinger leaves in and out during the edit.
Yeah.
We really don't know how you're going to come across in an actual episode. It all depends on what sort of mood Kinger's in with you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
you're sending them positive messages through the week, you know. We're going to try Craigie's Irish Craft Cider. So it's a rosé. It's 5.8%, which is, you know, quite strong for a cider. And yeah, crack them open and see what we got.
Cool.
Rose
I'm really looking forward to this one. Because I went through a real phase of drinking rosé when I was in college, because it was like the cheap wine to get.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a rosé smell off of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Kinger, was that your alternative to most people going on the old Buckfast? Did you go the rosé instead?
Yeah. Fact, I couldn't stomach Buckfast. Could not
Better
stomach
off. I thought
Yeah.
that was awful stuff. Strangely enough, I had a friend that actually told me one day, it's like, sure, it tastes like Petit Falou. I was like, where are you at, lad?
Jesus.
Where are you at?
That man has no taste buds left alive.
Absolutely.
That is.
Lads, this thing smells like it's gone off.
Just give it a pour. The smell does settle down a little bit. I think the initial blast is the carbonation. Now, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it smells a little better when it's in the glass.
I don't know about that.
It has a very rosé. There's a hint of rosé there. There's also a hint of rubbish or something. Yeah, okay.
A hint of vinegar or something at the end as well. Like,
Yeah, right?
that's
Yeah.
sour.
Ooh, there's a lot of vinegar in that.
It's like an apple vinegar.
I think the vinegar's a good shout, Nally. The ethanoic acid or whatever from white wine.
So it's
rosé wines.
it's a fairly similar color to the Sheppys, just it's a lot
little
clearer,
lighter.
obviously.
Yeah.
A lot clearer, yeah.
I'd say it's a bit more pink as well. not being a smart ass from the rosé, but it is a bit more pink than the other one was kind of more white.
Okay, I don't see that. I don't see it. Maybe it's just my light here, but yeah.
I haven't even drank any of it yet.
No,
It smells
Same,
so
same.
pudding.
I won't lie. I'm kind of gone to a place in my head where I'm like, I really hope this is like Kinger's reaction to the sours, where I smelt this and it smells like feet, and hopefully I taste it and it's like, this is actually all right. Oh, that was Mark. Sorry, apologies. Yeah.
Would ye take the smell of a sour or the smell of this?
This.
Oh.
I like sours, but I the smell of this.
Yeah.
Over sour, yeah.
No, for me, I think sour, because it would depend very much on the sour. I mean, you can get those raspberry sours that are very nice. They smell class as well, as opposed to whatever this is.
Yeah, you can also get green zebra, which smells like feet. So I think that's kind of a moot question. But I've just tried some of this, and it's not as bad as the smell. It's really dry. It's not even crisp. It's just dry, like what a wine is. Does anyone get that? I'm looking at faces. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it doesn't taste as bad as it smells. I'm looking at some faces on this video call that are absolutely shocked in horror.
I think, Mark, and you were saying you're more or less saying that you don't mind it, and you said that you do like a rosé, you do like a wine now and again. I'd say that's probably a lot to do with it. I hate wine. I dislike this a lot. It's a no for me.
That's a very
Very quick.
It's very quick to just go, no.
Well, it's your job now, Walsh. You're on a podcast, so you have to keep drinking it.
I'm just doing a little bit of research here. I probably should have done this research before any of the podcast was recorded, but rosé cider is a thing. I didn't know that was a...
Wow.
I thought this was like some kind of hybrid of rosé wine and cider. I thought that's what this was. There's a rosé apple is a breed of apple, we'd say.
And I can tell you with all confidence, Kinger, it should not be a thing. It should die.
Genocide of a specific apple tree.
Stick to your golden delicious and your old pink lady there. Avoid that rosé.
Throw an old pink lady in there.
Yep.
So it's a lot more carbonated for a start compared to Sheppys, and I for me that makes it harder to drink straight away.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Kinger. So it's definitely more carbonated. Like you said, the smell it's not great. There's something kind of sour or vinegary off the smell. And I think for me that kind of follows through on the flavour as well. It's very tart. Like, it really hits you a punch in the face when you drink it. Like, there's that, your lips and everything just pucker up. Like, that has more an effect than the sours had on me. Like, that tartness in your mouth. Jesus, lads.
You feel like you need like a labello or a chapstick or whatever implement you use to moisten your lips when you've got a cold sore or whatever. But you feel like you need something like that after you're drinking it. It's absolutely drying out everything it touches. So, guys, I've been doing some research on this a little bit before we tried it. So, Craigie's isn't actually an Irish brand. It says Irish craft cider, okay? It's owned by O'Hara's, okay? Carlow Brewing Company. They trade as O'Hara's. So, like, everyone will have seen an O'Hara's beer on some shelf somewhere. So, they bought this in from, like, an English supplier or whatever. They're just producing it or branding it and selling it in Ireland, but guys, you need to get rid of that contract, I think, and find another supplier of a brand name, because just I can see everybody's reaction to this so far. We're not liking it.
Yeah, jeez, lads, I wouldn't be afraid of an old tipple or two, but I tell you something for nothing, I will not for the life of me be going looking for this anywhere again. I just don't know, man. I mean, I know you didn't pick the Ciders, Kinger, but this is doing nothing for your hopes of us going ahead with them.
In fact, as a person who did pick the Ciders, I think this reinforces our views on ciders, and how bad they are. This reinforces that.
And my life has been altered, and I don't know if it's for the better. I'm questioning life choices right now. Life is flashing before my eyes. It's quite boring, but it had this involved in it, and I'm not happy about it.
I can get over a lot. Okay, we've had beers that didn't taste great. We've had beers that had like bad mouthfeels or aromas, or like one thing or two things bad with them, and we've given them an appropriate rating. The odor, this was shit. The taste isn't much better. The mouthfeel feels like you're licking sand. Okay, and the only thing you can't complain about is the color, because color is just color. Okay, and you can't really. There's no bad color.
I'm trying to find a positive spin here somewhere, and like, I'm even looking at the bottle, at the label, and even that is just a bit like.
The label is some sort of old tricycle armchair contraption, and it's pink because I get it's rosé, whatever.
You'll be looking for a while, Kinger. Let's put it that way.
I just want to point out there's also two sides, Nally, to all of our ratings. When Nally likes a beer, it's gone before we get to the rating of it. He has it swamped, and if he lifts up his glass and shows the two boys as well, it's gone, and I know it's gone because he doesn't want to drink it anymore, and he doesn't want to say that he didn't finish it. So he's finished it just to be stubborn and get it done with.
Yeah. See, looking at him is how I feel right now. Like it's like I've been through the wars. I've been through an ordeal. Yeah, and as Natalie's doing, pour me a beer so I can get rid of that taste.
Lads, I think we can move on to the rating for this, and I'm going to tell you straight out the bat. For me, that's unbearable. That's the lowest rating I've ever given a beer. That is, oh Jesus Christ! Like, no, that was hard drink now, boys. That's I can tell you something for nothing. That's not for me. Would not recommend to a friend. Nope.
I think this is definitely a rating that's going to be kind of predominantly negative. I wouldn't go as far to say as it's unbearable. I would probably say that it's a booze. Only because I am getting the very light kind of tint of a cider flavour coming through it. I wouldn't be rushing out to get it again. Let's call a spade, but I think it's a booze.
I think the target audience for this is people who don't know what they're buying. You know,
yeah,
like us. Like we didn't know. It's like, oh, it's a cider, Grant. Oh, but it's rosé, so you know. Oh, I drink cider and my girlfriend drinks cider, so we're gonna try a rosé one because we also drink wine.
Yeah,
it'll be nice. And then, you know, this must be something that they only sell, like, they sell to people once. Surely, like, how can you sell this over again?
I think you could be right, Mark. I think it might come across, it might be a bit gimmicky or something, having it called a rosé there as well. Now, rosé might be a style of cider, and there might be some good ones, but I feel like this is a very poor example of it. Like,
the only positive is the 5.8%, but to kick back, Nally, you've given it unbearable. Kinger's given it a booze. I'm looking at my glass, and I'll show it to you now. We have been talking for, like, whatever this gets edited down to. Wow. It's usually, like, maybe double. I have drank, what is that, 6 or 7 mouthfuls? I won't finish this. Like, or if I do, it'll be such a struggle. This is unbearable. Unbearable. All day long. Walshy?
Yeah, I just needed a minute. I'm trying to do what Nanny is doing, trying to get rid of it as quick as possible. I'm nearly there. I probably have a mouthful or two left. I've never put this much effort into anything in my life. It's unbearable, and if there was something worse than that, I'd give it that as well.
It's so bad. If we had tried this first, the Sheppys would have gotten a beautiful, fucking unbelievable.
Probably would have.
Yeah,
it probably would have.
So just look. So rosé ciders are an actual thing. So I thought this was kind of like a, you know, like they were taking a punt on something different. But it's a style of cider. If that's the case, like, I can happily say that I like one style of cider then, because that's like, you know, like this is pretty unforgivable.
Well, I wouldn't say that, Kinger, because I'm sure you're a fan of like the, say, kiwi and lime ciders, or what is it, strawberry and lime, or pomegranate. Like, they're all different styles of ciders as well. So I just think that our experience of rosé cider, and maybe if we ever come back around to them, we'll give another brand a try before we stink on a whole style. But this is super bad. And Walshy, can you just confirm that you're giving this an unbearable so we can move on from this?
Oh, 100%. Oh, unbearable all day. all day,
Unbearable,
every day.
unbearable. Boos from Kinger. And it's a boo to you, Kinger, for giving this Anton higher than an unbearable.
Yeah, boo Kinger.
Boo, Kinger, boo.
Just a quick one for anyone listening out there. If they do know any rosé cider that's half decent, like hit us up, let us know, and if we get back around to ciders, we'll stick it on the list to try it. Like you said, there's no point shitting on a whole style because of some really, 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 really bad example.
Yeah.
I'm sure my 3 friends would like to try them roses while I try something good.
All 3 of your friends, Walshy, yeah?
All 3 of them, my only friends, and after this episode, I'm not even sure anymore.
Well, in a surprising turn of events, we're going from the podcast first unbearleavable rating to the podcast first unbearable rating, which I think is a little harsh. But you got to go with the
Never
consensus.
speak
No,
about
it's
it
not.
again.
No, it's not. You don't even think it's...
Never speak of it again.
Kinger, I would have struggled with my words as well, talking about that as well at the very end. So
Yeah, Kinger, I don't feel like even you can say that that's a little harsh. You've only given it a booze because you're the cider man. I feel like if you were fully honest, this is out the gap and never speak of again.
I'm only giving it a booze because I feel every beer needs someone to fight its corner somewhere for something. That's all.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, look, we'll move swiftly on to our second question of the week. Another listener question that was sent in to us by Brendan Sewell. Mate, I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. I apologise wholeheartedly.
We have 2 listeners.
So that's 2 for sure, which is always it's better than 1.
We'll be back down to 1 now that you can't pronounce one of the 2 listeners' names.
I know. It's a great question though, right? So you wake up tomorrow morning, the power has been put in your hands to eradicate a single style of beer. What are you getting rid of?
Rosé cider. Get rid of rosé cider. It's gone. Kicked out the door. Get out and walk. Go home to your mother. Think about everything you've done wrong in your life, and don't come near me again.
Just for anyone listening, I want to point this out that all 3 of us about to answer had been struggling to get in there first. And I guarantee you every one of us was about to say rosé cider. My God, that's muck.
That's fine, and I take your point. You were very unimpressed by rosé ciders, but I'm going to push you for that's just ciders. So let's just say and pick a style that you would eradicate. What would you go with?
okay, I'll jump in there first. And a certain person mightn't be overly happy with me, and I will give 2 reasons for it. But I will get rid of double IPAs. Sorry, Kinger.
My God.
I'm sorry.
My God.
I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'll give 2 reasons. 1, I just don't like them. I find them too strong. I don't find them enjoyable. 2, they cost much for breweries. So, I don't think it would be a big hit on them to be like, okay, the cost is too much. They don't make as much money on it. So I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if you had to get rid of one, being doubles. I could also say triples, but I've never had one, so I won't go that far.
Oh, well, you got out of me giving you a rake of abuse there because your 2 reasons were cost and strength or whatever. Yeah, triples should go, but yeah, no, I take your points. Fair play. It's not as if.
Well, double IPAs don't like you either, watching.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
Fair enough.
No,
it's a hit.
Kinger, back off. That's a doctor you're talking to. Okay.
Yeah, bit of respect. The amount of money that I put into my, I don't know, PhD or whatever.
He did not pay all that money for that online website for you to disrespect him.
Well, okay, Walshy's taking aim at me and my favourite style, so I'm going to do the same thing out of pure spite, but I'm aiming it at Nally. Nally, stouts. Come on. What's the point? Nobody needs a double cherry chocolate cheesecake fucking stout. It's ridiculous.
Hey, whoa, hold on now.
No, hold on. Irrelevant. So, Kinger, just so you know, that means you're including getting rid of Guinness. And you can't caveat it with except Guinness. It means it's gone.
I would happily get rid of Guinness if it meant
You would-
all other styles of nonsense, all other types of nonsense stouts would go as well.
Now, Kinger, I don't mean to dredge up things that are not from the podcast. However, I need to bring this up because fuck you. What, what was that beer you were dying to try? That pecan. What was that? What type of beer was that? Was that a lager? No. Was that a
stout?
What? Yeah, and how did you like that? Because I can
was
check
only
you're
alright.
Untapped.
It was only alright.
It was only alright.
It was only alright.
Can I?
Yeah.
Did he not give that a 6 out of 5?
Can I just say one thing? The three of us have, as you know, mature adults with analytical heads on us. One is a doctor, two are scientists. We have agreed on one thing already tonight. And Kinger has, gone off his own way because I control the edit and I can do what I want. So can we all just say something here that, like Kinger's wrong? We all agree there? Walshy, Nally?
Yep.
Walshy?
He could put in something horrible about me in that edit. I say a lot of stupid shit.
Well, she's too afraid
I
to
don't want
stand
to
up
take
to
that
Kinger.
risk.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you know what? That's fair. But no, fair. You're entitled to your opinion, wrong as it may be. And your stout's gone. That's fair enough. For me, I feel like I love craft beer. I know all of us here do, and I feel like a thing. Okay, they're great beers. People tend to start off in them. Not great beers, but people tend to start off in them. So like a Coors and Budweiser and things like that, and people start off in them. I feel like if we got rid of them, that it would lead to a lot more craft beer breweries being around, and it would be a lot more people would try a wider style of beer. So for me personally, the style of beer I'd get rid of would probably be American Light Lager. I know that it's the best selling in the world and everything like that. However, I feel like if it was gone, people might try more craft beers.
Nally, I disagree with you, but I completely respect where you're coming from. The one counterpoint I would make is the reason the craft beer brewery has exploded is that there's so many. The beer industry itself is so big, and maybe 90% of people drink standard stuff like American Light Lagers, and they're happy enough with that. But because it's so big, the 10% that want craft beer is such a big number that it exists. I think if you kill that market, we'd end up like, come on, man, we'd have like 3 beers and like it would all be like vegan shakes and shit like that. Health food would have advanced 50 years, and I can't take that.
Yeah, no, I get your point. Just from that, I think if we're on about getting rid of it from now, that's why I'm going with American Light Lager. However, yeah, I get your point. It kind of brought beer to the masses, and if we're on about from the start, then obviously you can't get rid of that style because it's kicking it into everyone else. Like,
yeah, no, I take your point, and I think I was probably a bit misunderstanding of what you were saying there. Yeah, no, I take it from now. I completely see where you're coming from. Kinger, you want to say something, Kinger? Do you? Okay, third time's a charm.
So essentially, I just wanted to point out that I gave my opinion as what I would eradicate from this earth, and it was like there wasn't enough room for the 3 of you to jump down my throat.
I didn't say anything.
You two just had a very civil and a very friendly sounding discussion, even though I disagree with you. However, I'll counter your point with, like, where was my civility when all this was
As soon as you wanted to get rid of Guinness, Kinger, I don't think I need to say anything. You don't like Guinness. You think Guinness.
That's just collateral damage. Like, it's just,
you
it's
think
just
Guinness
collateral damage.
should be removed.
And you gave me stick that I've only had one.
Yeah, you wouldn't kick it out of bed though, Walshy, would you? Not like Kinger.
You want to stop me from having my second pint of Guinness? That's
if it meant you also couldn't have a double raspberry apple flavored gingerbread stout. Like, what's the point in that? I don't get it. Like, it's
Walshy,
nonsense.
does that exist? And if it does, Walshy needs it in his life right now. So please tell him who makes it.
Not a gingerbread one. No.
I have to say, because I feel like I don't want to end this podcast with me saying that I want to get rid of Guinness. Guinness is the holy grail. For me, it's the holy grail, right? So I do love Guinness. I just think that there's no point in trying to do something so crazy to that style of beer when it doesn't need it. That's my feelings on it.
No, for me it's going to be brown ales. And I had a bit of time to think about this because I'm answering last. I think brown ales for me, they're not a style I particularly enjoy. I also think they're a style that kind of, they're quite minimalistic. Like, there's not many of them is kind of what I'm trying to say. there's very much 2 or 3 big ones, and then people aren't going out of their way to like try and make that many new brown ales. You know, nobody's really trying to explore that market, and I think it's because a lot of people feel like me that brown ale, it doesn't sound appealing. You know, for me there isn't a
Never thought of
but
that.
it does. It is brown ale. You think of ale and you think of like a kind of, you know, a slightly more viscous than water liquid, and then you think of brown, and those two colours, those two kind of things don't really go well together. And I think for me, I don't know anyone whose favourite drink is a brown ale, and I'm sure there's a lot of them out there who are like brown ale or death, whatever, those kind of people, but I think that they don't offer that much to the market as a whole. Nobody's looking to explore into that sector of the market, so there's no new innovations or new flavours or like new ones coming out very regularly. And then again, my own personal preference is that I don't really like them, so that's why I get rid of them.
So that brings us to the end of a tumultuous episode in the end for Ciders on the podcast. Any final words, lads?
Yeah,
Very
boo
unimpressed
Kinger,
across the
boo
board.
Kinger.
Mark, you suggested the ciders.
No, I just had to pick them.
Yeah, boo Mark.
Kinger
boo,
suggested
Mark.
them. Kinger suggested them. Oh, fuck you, man. We went the whole episode. The whole fucking episode before we got into this shit, and we were all against Kinger, and you just had to throw a spanner in the works, didn't you?
I'll always turn it around. Mark, as usual, give us a quick rundown of our social channels for people to get in touch.
We're everywhere you listen to your podcast: Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, SoundCloud, wherever it is. We're there at Crafty Crew Podcast, and find us on Facebook at Crafty Crew Podcast. And if you'd like to email us in a question, we would really appreciate any questions that any listeners have. We'll throw them on the next episode, and you'll be able to hear what we think of your question. Find us again on Facebook, Crafty Crew Podcast, or craftycrewpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Untapped as well at Crafty Crew Podcast. And congratulations to Untapped, which has just recently had 1 billion check-ins. So 1
That's
billion
mad,
beers
isn't
have been checked into Untapped, which, considering it's such a niche app, really is a warning for every member that, you know, maybe you need to see your endocrinologist very soon.
Yeah, ease up a bit.
Nally was about half of them.
Jesus Christ.
Next week we are on, much to Nally's excitement and delight, we're on Belgians next week, which is a new one for me, I have to say. We're on Trappist Rochefort 8, and we're also on Westmalle Trappist Triple. Did I say the names right, Nally? Am I passing that?
Yeah, so you got the names right. The only thing I'll throw out, just a caveat, is it's not just Belgian, it's Belgian Trappist beer specifically, which is its own.
Sorry, like.
Well, it's its own unique thing. Don't be doing that. Like, you know, they deserve it. Those monks need the props.
Don't give too much away, Nally, because
Fair.
anyone who wants to find out why a Trappist is a Trappist, why it's called a Trappist, join us next week for that.
So while the lads are phoning over the Belgian Trappist there next week, it's a goodbye from Nally, goodbye from Mark, goodbye from Walshy, and from myself, Kinger. See you next week.